Okay, we are live. Hello, hello, hello. We are live now. Welcome if you are joining us. I can't see anyone yet on my screen, but I know that there is usually a delay. Oh, yeah, there's someone in. Welcome, Jeff, on this very first episode of our health, finance, and well-being series. It's the new year. It's this time that many people try to make New Year's resolution. And a lot of times, I would say more than 50% of the time, it's either finance or health. And some people already have started to fail because statistics shows that 7%, only 7% actually achieve those goals, and the remaining 93 don't, for whatever reasons they are. But I feel like this is the best time of the year to start this series, and I hope you will be blessed as you watch this episode and future ones. And so today we will be looking at the link between health, finance, and well being. The link between finance and well being. Because many people don't actually realize that there is a link. Some people might think, you know what, I've been struggling to lose this weight, and oh, goodness me, they may not necessarily realize that finances, which is causing stress and all the other symptoms, is why they are not able to achieve their weight loss goals. And similarly, some people may not realize that the weights that they have are having impacts on their finances. So there's so much to this, but we will be discussing in details shortly. But before that, I'd like to introduce myself, especially if you're watching me for the very first time. My name is Fumi Ajayobe. I am the founder of the Exclusive You Nutrition and Lifestyle Improvement Program, a program which I started over a decade ago to help people improve their nutrition, lifestyle, and enable them achieve their weight loss goals using their own diets. No pills, no miracle juice, no extreme calorie counting, just using your own diet. Because to be honest with you, that's the only way you can sustain a healthier lifestyle and your weight loss. Without which, if you're doing other things, you will be simply not addressing the root cause. You might just be addressing the symptoms. And so that's what I do. And I have with me today a finance and health coach. And before I bring her in, I'd just like to say to you, we're broadcasting using an OBS, which is an open broadcast software, and it's StreamYard. And to allow you to drop your message and comments, you would need to give StreamYard permission. So please give StreamYard permission so that you can comment and you can ask your questions, and so that we can also highlight it on the platform here. And yeah, so that's it for now. I will like to bring my guest in, and I will introduce her to you just as I bring her in to the broadcast. So with me today is Angie Enabo. She is a wife, a chartered accountant by day, a children's book author, and a health enthusiast by night. She is passionate about education, especially creating a platform that provides clear, unbiased, effective resources that enable people to make healthier choices. She's the founder of My Healthier Family, an Instagram page that aims to educate and inspire her audiences to make informed choices that improve their overall health. Angie Enable, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here tonight.
That's amazing. We're so excited to have you because we can't wait to begin to hear what you've got in store for us today. And just on a lighter note, I mean, you wear two caps. You have the finance and you have the healthy lifestyle coach. Would you like to let us know how come? I mean, you're a chartered accountant, so we know that's your main profession, and then now you're into health. How does that work together? Why did you get into this health field?
Thank you. Yes, it does sound like like an odd combination, but as we're talking about this evening, well-being is so important. So my journey into health started with my personal experiences with illnesses that did not seem to be cured by following conventional medicine. I would always tend to get relief from whatever symptom I was facing at the time, but never a cure to quite a list of illnesses that I was facing at the time. And so I heard about a herbal therapist who I tried. And the consultation with her was just so different to what I had, or, when I went into a traditional GP. And that's not to say anything about GPs. I am my father, mother, and husband are in the medical profession. So I have nothing against science, but for me, really owning my well-being and taking a more tailored and individual approach to my health gave me the results that I hadn't gotten from years of taking lots of tablets. So that's how I got it.
Fantastic. I mean, I think we all have our own stories to tell. Some of you watching might not know that I'm similar to Angie in the fact that I also am an accountant, and then I got into this healthier lifestyle. And for me, it's a similar journey. I was obese. There was a time I weighed over 100 kg. And at the time, I didn't have a clue what to do. And of course, you Google on the internet, so much conflicting information. Do this, do that, drink this, do that. And they don't work if you've tried them before. So I had to research on a personal journey. And following that, I decided also to do some studies on nutrition. I did my dissertation about nutrition, and I also went on to do a diploma in nutrition because I didn't want to rely on just my personal research. I wanted a bit of authentication, certification to my experience and knowledge. And so, yeah, here I am as well on this healthier lifestyle journey, and I've been helping people along the along this journey. So today we will be linking, finance and well-being. But before we go, we just want to know about health. The World Health Organization defines health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of diseases. So honestly, to be honest with you, before now, I thought being healthy is as long as you're not in hospital, you're healthy. Because if you have disease, then you'll be in hospital. So if you're not in hospital, then you're healthy. But it seems that World Health Organization is telling us that it's not just when you don't have the disease, you have to be in a complete physical, mental, and social state to be healthy. That's interesting because, I mean, to be honest with you, I did have I still do have back problem. I've had this for years, and I would consider myself healthy. I mean, but maybe some people might not because it depends on how it affects their lifestyle, their well-being. If that back pain is affecting how they move, how they even wake up in the morning, that may be severe. Or if it's affecting how they physically walk, if they cannot even walk unaided. So, I suppose it looks to me that each person will have to determine whether they are healthy or not. I don't know what you feel about this, Angie, about this World Health Organization's definition of health.
I think who am I to to critique the World Health Organization? After all, they are the World Health Organization, and I totally respect the broad spectrum of definitions and guidance that they give. But I would lay emphasis on the fact that they are broad. I think that each person is an individual and has a unique set of genes, hormones, and DNA that help them to feel good. What I will agree, though, is that the World Health Organization is very correct in that health, because we use that word very loosely, but health doesn't just relate to a person who is not sick. And as we will talk, I'm sure later on when we talk a little bit more about well-being, there are different aspects to a person's health. There are different aspects to a person's life. And so to define health in one area to simply mean where a person is not sick may not be the most comprehensive definition. So I think that while I respect that, and I think there's a lot of truth to that, we need to realize that we're individuals. And so whatever health might mean to you might be slightly different to what the World Health Organization thinks.
Absolutely, absolutely. So everyone, there is more. Basically, that means there is more to health. So
Yes.
it's not just yeah, oh, I'm not in hospital, I'm not sick, yeah, I'm healthy. Not
Mm,
necessarily. It's the holistic approach, your whole being. Are you healthy?
yes.
So maybe we should then look at well-being then, and before we need to look at them individually and then combine them, at some point. So well-being, as defined by the Oxford English Dictionary, is the state of being or doing well in life, happy, healthy, or prosperous condition, moral or physical welfare. So it's important to realize that well-being is much more broader concepts
Mm,
than moments to moment happiness. It includes happiness and other things as well, and how satisfied people are with their life as a whole, their sense of purpose, and how they feel that they are in control of their life. So why is well-being even important? I mean, because I think nowadays we're beginning to hear more about well-being, lifestyle. Where prior to now, I think it's either you're healthy or you're not healthy. No one
mm.
really talks much about health, well-being, but now people are beginning to talk more about that. So why is that well-being important? Why should we really consider our well-being?
So I think, like the name implies, well-being. I would define it as a state of a person feeling well in their being. And like we said earlier, it's not limited to just one area. I think there are broadly six categories of well-being. We have emotional or mental well-being. We have our social well-being. We have spiritual well-being, we have financial well-being, we have physical well-being, and there are at least six broad categories. So I believe that a person's well-being and the focus on that actually should not be that it's one thing. It's as an individual to assess your life and see how you're doing in all those five or six key areas as it applies to you, and then hopefully work on one part at a time, but realize that you are not just your job, or you are not just your religious or your faith interactions. It's a whole broad spectrum of things that contribute to a person's well-being, and it's worth focusing on, really, especially in these times with everything else that's happening in the world.
Absolutely, because I mean, if you're not well, how can you be well in other areas of your life? If your well-being is faulty, you can't function effectively. It is like you said, holistic. Every area of our lives is quite important that we have a balance. We strike the right balance so that we can live a happier life. We all have only one shot to this life, and we
Absolutely.
have to live it well within our whatever we can do within our capacity. Of course, there are certain aspects of health that we don't necessarily have control over. Sometimes
Mm,
we have the environmental factors, which maybe we may not 100%
mm,
be able to
yeah.
control that. But the ones we can control, surely we should be doing all that we can do to make sure that we are um, taking care of it and doing it well.
I
So
agree.
yeah. So finance, we know it's more of a how we can manage our money, how we can budget. It includes investing, activity, and all these things. And we know that it does affect well-being, which is why we're treating this topic. So maybe this is the time to just ask, how does this affect health? People are trying, I mean, to become more financially healthy
Mm.
now. And should they really do more? Why is financial well-being? In fact, maybe we should ask, what is even financial well-being? Well, what does it even mean to have a good financial well-being? Let's start with that first.
So I think that that's a very good point, because we need to first of all state that we're dealing with one aspect of a person's well-being.
Mhm.
So being financially well, or being in a state of of being in a state of financial well-being, does not mean that overall you are in a state of general well-being. I think it's worth saying that. I believe that financial well-being would be the state, or the state of mind in which a person would be, where they have control over their finances, not just for the moment, but for the future. So they understand and they are comfortable with the state of their finances for a sort of medium to long term. I think that's very important. And some of the statistics I was looking at earlier, I think it was from the Money and Pension Service, actually said that about 64% of the population have finance related issues, or consider finance to be a major stressor in their life. Now, when we look again at some of the finance related issues, we will see that there is a clear link between financial stresses and insomnia, not being able to sleep. There could be a link between financial stresses and migraine headaches. There could be a link between financial stresses and cardiovascular issues. There could be a link between financial stresses and even eating badly, because some people, when they don't feel really good about their finances, they just eat the wrong thing, or binge eat, or try to drown their sorrows, as the saying goes. So it's very, very important, and it's very key to make that link between financial well-being and health, or financial well-being and some symptoms that people may have. The data also tells us that about 12% of people, I think it's more than that really, but they say about 12% of people will consider their lives to change significantly if they had a major financial crisis in a month. So most
Hmm.
people are not planning more than the paycheck and how to live from paycheck to paycheck. So if something, God forbid, a bereavement or something happened in the family, a lot of people feel like they would dip into a state of financial or lack of financial well-being, which may, like I said, lead to other physical diseases in the body.
Hmm. That's interesting, because now I'm just thinking about what you said about the financial well-being affecting, people, eating and lifestyle. So could it also be that eating itself, because I'm just trying to think which one is affecting what. Could it also be that when one is eating badly, when one have bad behavior, that
Mm.
eating habits can also cause that stress that would now affects their thinking and every other thing, and then affect their finance? Which way around do you think one should look at?
Absolutely, absolutely. I like the way we started off, because we started off by defining health and then well-being, and then talking about the six major areas of a person's well-being. So I think that it's worth us to look at all of those holistically. If a person's financial well-being is down at the moment, but perhaps their physical well-being is up, perhaps their social well-being is up, perhaps their faith or religious well-being is up, perhaps their emotional well-being is up, I think that person will be able to balance a crisis in their life and be able to get through it. However, if all those other five areas are down, then it is very likely that a person will struggle a lot more to come out of this state of being of not being in a well state, or not feeling like they're in a state of well-being, and they're all linked. So yes, if a person, for example, has an unexpected bill, or faces some kind of bereavement is what a lot of people are dealing with now, it is likely that that person would draw away from people, and so their social well-being might then be impacted because they don't want to see people, they're not going to visit friends and family. It is possible that they are not doing well at their job because they're probably not able to concentrate. It is possible that that person might not then go to the gym and get their physical well-being in order. It is possible that this person may not meditate or do whatever it is that they were doing for their life. And so we can then see the link between this particular example and for example eating all the wrong things, not sleeping well, not drinking a lot of water, maybe resulting to the bottle instead, and it spirals. Eventually that kind of person may have liver issues for starters, sleeping issues, high blood pressure. And so they're all linked. Yeah. So whichever one happens first, if we're able to balance the scale, and if we go by 6 aspects of well-being, if at least 3 are okay, then at least that is some kind of balance. But if it's like 4, 2, or 1, 5, and it tips, then I think we all need to then pay closer attention.
Absolutely, because sometimes people may not even realize this, and they may think, "Oh, it's a family issue," especially for our people, maybe Black people. Oh, it's causes, it's family causes, it's a spiritual causes, or
Yes.
it's a family, it's hereditary, and they don't necessarily see that they need to look into the mirror first before looking at hereditary, looking at spiritual causes. Is somebody in the village? Is all these
You
things.
know,
So
what you say is so key because a lot of things run in the family. First of all, financial illiteracy runs in the family a lot of the time until you pull yourself out of it and make yourself financially literate. In some people's family, nobody even runs in terms of physical exercises. So to get yourself into a state of physical well-being, you have to take the personal responsibility for yourself and your life, to then make improvement. So I think there is a link between sort of family tendencies or a family trait, but we need to start to take responsibility and break that down. So what does it mean to say something runs in the family? I can't do anything about it. Everybody in my family is diabetic or has high blood pressure. If you pick those 6 areas that we've discussed and then pick each of them and take that responsibility for yourself. You eat greasy food every day, all fried. You do not exercise. You don't budget your money. You do not invest. You don't have good social networks. You don't have, yeah, it will run in the family because you're all doing the same thing. You're all doing the same thing.
Absolutely. So it is the behavior really that needs to change in most cases, really. It's not necessarily maybe the genetics, it's the behavior. Because I know somebody who, a friend, and everybody in the family is large. She'd be like, oh, it's all, but then when I observe and I'm like, actually, it is not necessary because I look at the behavior of her, I look at the behavior of her sister, I look at the behavior, and I kind of sit back and I think, you know what? It's not necessarily genetics. It is the behavior of the family that you are then passing. And then the point is, she's also passing it on to her kids. Yep. Her kids, she'll be like, they're too skinny. Oh, I want them to be. And then she's forcefully giving them more portions. And I'm like, no, they don't need this portion. This portion you're giving your 4-year-old. I'm an adult. I can't even finish it. Then that child grows up to become obese, and then you say the thing runs in the family. So it's not that it runs in the family, it's the behavior that runs in the family, and somebody needs to change and break that for that family, ancestral, whatever it is, to be cut off. And
absolutely.
Like you said, it sounds like education is one of the things that one needs to break that, or what else? Or what do you think?
Absolutely. I think there is a place for education, but really you can't force things down people's throats. So I think the first thing is coming to an awareness oneself. So having that eureka moment, which I had when I started to take my health and well-being more seriously. I had to come to the point myself to say, look, I am not taking any more antibiotics that give me side effects. I am not waiting 6 months before I can get a consultant's appointment to look at something on my face when I used to break out really bad, or I'm not doing this. And I took the the first step in realizing the body is self-cleansing. It was designed, like the body is a well-oiled machine that's designed, or was designed, to work, and it's a living thing, which suggested to me that it responds to stimuli. And so I just said to myself, it must be something that's going in that's causing these things. And then one by one, I literally took all of the organs in the body, from nose to liver to kidney to lungs, studied each of them. What foods do I need to eat to support each organ? What issue was I facing? And what organ in the body was it linked to? And then started to do that research myself. And then eventually I started to find like-minded people online. I found the holistic herbal therapists that I use online. They're not cheap, and that's unfortunate. But there's so many social media pages that are free, and then one can get, really good, at least the first step in the right direction, which is what I'm trying to do as well, is for somebody who has spent a lot of money and time going around in circles and who is deliberate about wanting to change their life, to point them in the right direction and give them the first step. So it really does start with the individual, unfortunately, and they then need to walk that path themselves. But it is so rewarding. You will feel so empowered, and you will start to feel better health-wise, and at least in the area of your physical well-being as well.
Absolutely, because if one is not looking, because we need to look at this part of life. We are all here on this planet Earth to fulfill a purpose. As individuals, we are called to for whatever purpose we are called into. We should, and then we have one shot of this life. We should ensure that we're doing it well. And if we are not doing it well, we will impact the other person. And then it has a spiral effect on the economy, on the society, So we need to make sure that we start with us. I mean, is it World Health Organization this year? The theme, it starts with me. There was a theme that was going around. It starts with me, it begins with me. So we should take responsibility for our individual self, then our family, then our environment, then our community. We shouldn't just wait for the government to do everything for us, because at the end of the day, we are the government. We are the people. We are the one out there that can make these changes that we are calling for. And we need to educate ourselves so that when we are educated, then we can educate our kids, our family, people around us. They can get better. Because I mean, I know this is a weird example, but if someone is, I mean, I'm using the worst case scenario, being a doctor, you're not having the clear head. You go to, you want to treat your patients. The knock-on effect is your well-being determines whether that patient is going to live or die, or whether they're going to even have health solution to their situation or not. Or you're a finance person. If you're not careful, you don't have good well-being yourself. It would be determine whether you're going to be successful at your job or have problems. Maybe you're an investment person, you put people into trouble, they lose their investment, they are then stressed, they have poor well-being, and then that affects their family, their children. The effect of this, the implication of lack of well-being goes beyond just us as individuals. We should be considerate about the people around us, our environment, and how we can impact people. So we need to take this carefully, and especially in terms of kids. Let's catch them young. I know you are, I mean, an author. I know we're not really focusing on that today, but I need to let people know, because you are an author of a book, How Zaki Bought His Bicycle. Why did you even write the book? Because why did you decide to write a children's book?
So like I said earlier, a lot of things run in the family. And I'm an accountant, so I deal with numbers and finances every day. And it really occurred to me that financial literacy is something that a lot of people are scared to bring up, or feel their child is too young to talk to about, or just don't feel confident in discussing. And so I thought that I will put my own contribution into the space by creating material in the form of books, and hopefully they would morph into other things in the future, um, of just literacy that helps to introduce key financial concepts, just using really relatable stories. So this is about a boy who wants to buy a bicycle. Most children want things, I want this, I want that, I want that, so it's just taking that and introducing those key financial concepts, and terminology, most importantly, to children from a very young age. The psychology actually tells us that a lot of children already have a complete view of life. They might not be able to articulate it into words, but their view of life is already formed by the age of five. Five.
Hmm.
So, contrary to what people think, you can mold a child, a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old, to be more financially literate, to have a better sense of well-being, and all of these things you can, because what the study says is after 5 years old, you're pretty much doing damage control.
Hmm.
So I tend to write or to contribute to that age group, but also maybe up until about 11 years old, just hopefully to try and shape and introduce financial literacy, which we all need to get by in life. We need finances.
Ab-
Um,
Absolutely. Because to be honest with you, I think that makes sense. Because if we're talking about financial well-being, I mean, we are adults now, and for some people, they're already adults. It's hard to shape people when
mm,
they're already grown. Like I mean, it's scary to say, they're already shaped at age 5. Age 5, most people are just still buying ice cream for their kids, doing things and not necessarily thinking that, they could start to help the kids when they go shopping, point to them, how much do you have and things like that. How should do we have enough money? I mean, I remember when I was my youngest, he was a young kid at the time. He was like, we went shopping I think that was the first time I went with him. I feel I did a big, huge shopping. And he said, Mommy, can you afford this? I don't even know why.
wow,
I'm going to even ask him one of these days, like, do you
wow,
remember question? I don't know. He must have done something at school, whatever. It's like, can you
wow.
afford this? Something that was huge. Like, I think he's never seen me done that big shopping before, because I don't usually take him shopping because they come from school, he's already there. So maybe that was the first time I'd actually taken him. So he was thinking, oh my goodness, all this, the whole Tesco shop, mom's putting her basket in her wheelie thing. And I said, yeah, actually, don't worry, So I think you're right. And the
Mhm.
science is right thinking about that age. They're already
Mm.
formed. They have an idea about finances, and we need to, as parents, need to ensure that we are kind of starting at that young age. And which this is why your book, How Zaki Bought His Bicycle, is quite, I mean, good for people to start to to talk about it, to start that conversation with their kids. So I'm going to put the link in the comments at some point so that people that are watching now or watching later can access it, or maybe you can put it to what's later, either of us. They can watch it and access it, purchase it, and start to use that as an instrument or the tool for their kids to start on, and not wait until they become an adult. Because in schools, these things are not necessarily taught in the way that we would like it. It's not about maths and English. We know maths, we know English. Some of the maths that you don't even use them in real life. you know, Pythagoras theory. Who uses that at work? If you're an engineer,
Right,
maybe.
yes, algebra and all of those lovely, lovely things.
If you're an engineer, whatever, you might be using some of
Mhm.
those. So, but the core things, the buying and selling, how much change, all those things. And I mean, I know that maybe some of them are done, but maybe they're not done well. I don't know. What's your experience about that in schools and in education? What do you
So,
think
from
about
my research, financial literacy has actually been introduced to the UK curriculum. It is an optional module in certain schools. We have the comprehensive schools and the state schools and all the different categories, which I don't know. But I believe it is now introduced into schools. There are organizations like the money saving expert Martin Lewis, who has actually written a curriculum or materials that go into schools. But what I found was that just children were not opting for financial literacy classes. And it goes back, the whole thing is a cycle. It goes back to what we're saying about it starts from the home. So if at
it?
home, finances are not talked about, you know, they don't know why it will benefit them in the real world to be financially literate from a young age, then they're not going to opt to take those classes. And so I
Mm.
feel that it is people are doing what they can. It's not a popular subject. I do wonder why, and I do wonder if it's linked to the fact that there is a financial industry that seeks to benefit from our ignorance. I don't know. Um, but I believe that the responsibility is down to each individual, it's down to each household and each family. And we have free resources like what we're doing now that people can access on the internet now than they probably would have, a couple of years ago. So I think just being deliberate and making the most of the resources that are available would be the first thing. Also, a parent who is not financially literate or comfortable about having open and honest conversations is not likely to breed a child who is going to do the same. So, yes, that's conversation for another day. But there is a whole there's a whole loop around that as well.
Absolutely. And we're going to get back to this topic as well properly because just to say, if you're joining us, thank you. I can see some people online already. People are joining and going and coming. Thank you so much for joining, for watching. Just to say that we would love you to put questions in the comments because we'll be taking questions soon. We want to really finish promptly at 9. So I would like you to drop your questions, your comments, and we will take them when we see them. Just to let you know, there's like a 10 seconds delay between Facebook and the broadcast. So if we might not see them on time. So start typing now if you want us to pick up your questions and your comments. Thanks for joining us for wherever you're watching us from. I just want to say something. Bob Proctor said, money makes you more of what you already are. Money makes you more of what you already are. So it sounds to me that because sometimes on the contrary, some people will be like, it's because I'm not rich. It's because I don't have money. That's why I'm not doing things. But properly saying, money makes you more of what you are. So whether you have money or more or not, it doesn't really impact. It's you as a person. That is the you in you that determines what action you take about money, about things, or about life, or whatever. That's what I'm thinking. Well, what do you think about that statement? And what would you say to that?
I think I would start by saying that money is good. Money is good, and knowing how to manage the money that you have is even better. We see the story of a lot of lottery winners, and we see people who win millions or billions of pounds, dollars, naira, whatever, and they fritter it away in a very short space of time. So, money management is actually more important than having money itself. I agree with that quote that says that money makes you more of what you are. Having money all of a sudden or not having money all of a sudden should not ideally change the core of your personality or your character. And so I would also say that money is a very useful tool in providing short term happiness or short term solutions. And this is where I go back to the point about money management. Money would fix a lot of issues, short-term issues, but if it's not planned properly, you would end up in the same situation in the future as where you are now. If you are not a happy person, deep down, having lots of bags and shoes and cars will not make you a happy person. If you are not a generous person, deep down, having lots of money would not necessarily make you generous. You may just want to hoard it all for yourself. If you are not a person that considers your health or healthier eating important, having money would just mean you will buy more expensive junk food. If you are not a person who is investment savvy, normally, even with £1 or £10, more money, you will just fritter it away and inflation would continue to devalue it. So I agree that money makes you more of what you are. That's not denying that money has its uses and its place. But the emphasis is that money usually would bring short-term happiness, and the management of money is more important than money itself.
Absolutely, that's so true because it just emphasizes, it amplifies the who in you basically. So if you already whatever, it just brings it out the more. And that's interesting that that point you just raised about having more money could mean that you buy the more junk food. Because and you know what, when we look at science, the World Health Organization, because there used to be a time where they say, oh, the poorest countries, you know, they are because they're not dying from health related problem, maybe lack of water, whatever, all those things. But nowadays these developing countries are beginning to die of developed country diseases, because now in those countries there is the Burger King or whatever, KFC or McDonald's, all those fast food shops, the lifestyle, people are beginning to, you know, behave like people in the Western world. I remember a long time ago, I went to Nigeria and I was saying to people, I mean, putting packed lunch and people are putting, you know, chocolate and this. I'm like, oh my goodness, that is so not good. You know, we're copying the style here and putting crisps and all this things. They should be treats. They shouldn't be everyday food. And a lot of parents don't realize that. They feel like, oh, you know, you have to behave in certain way to meet up to certain standard, and you put all this junk food in your kids' box. When I was a kid, my mom will put fruits. I'm telling you, I remember vividly fruit. I mean, the worst case scenario, she put a biscuits, those round, small, little round
Yeah.
biscuits.
Okay, biscuits.
Exactly. She put them, you know, all those ones, but that is it. Never chocolate, and we did have chocolate obviously in our time, but we didn't, you know, for us, snacking would be peanuts. You snack on peanuts, you snack on orange, you snack on people hawking fruits. Really, that is snack. But nowadays, snacking isn't that anymore. Snacking is chocolate, is all these things, and it is impacting developing countries in the same way that developed world is suffering, and the implication is even greater for developed country because they don't even have the finance to back up. They don't have the infrastructure, the health infrastructure to help with these things. I don't know, what are your thoughts around this area?
My thoughts are that it is rather unfortunate that a lot of us copy and just follow things without really appreciating the uniqueness of the African culture, the uniqueness of the African terrain, the uniqueness of our soil composition, the uniqueness of the variety that we have in our foods, and that we are not even always or not as much as trying to process our own food, like plantain chips or banana chips, you know, and things like that. But instead, it's the burgers. And I even heard some people, some very rich people, are able to fly a McDonald's burger in to certain countries if they feel like eating it on a particular day. And that is a thing, that is a status thing or a thing to be proud of. I think that's a conversation for another day, but I think it's rather unfortunate. I think it just shows that people do not research enough or take responsibility really for what goes in their mouth. I'll use myself as an example. The minute I started to read the label of, and thank goodness for the European regulations that came in that made it compulsory for to list ingredients, you know, on foods and things that you buy. Some also put the calorie content in it as well. But reading the ingredients on the back of a packet before I put it in my shopping basket or at least in my mouth truly was one of the cheapest, no spend transformation, whole life transformations that I ever did for myself. And so once people start to, it all starts with personal responsibility. No one's going to, even if you went to a boot camp or a course or something, you will still be let home at the end of it and have to practice all of this by yourself. So sometimes when people come to me and say things like, tell me a herb or a tea or this I can use, I'm very hesitant because it's not a one fixed thing. And you need to be able to replicate it when I'm not there as well. So I think it's unfortunate. It's my short answer.
Absolutely. No, you're sort of correct. You know, I think it's just the ignorance of our people, because thinking that we copy anything that is out of the country is better. And because of that ignorance, I mean, even now, I feel like sometimes people are trying to say, and I'm not, I mean, I think that's the same with you. I'm not an advocate of a particular diet or this, but then now people will be like, oh no, I don't eat yam anymore. I eat cabbage, pounded yam, or I eat, they convert this. And I'm thinking, what is wrong with yam? Yam is even nutritious than potato, in terms of, hey, it's just pure ignorance. Oh, I don't eat this anymore. So you just have to eat what is here in the Western world to replicate something, your food. If it's your local food, as long as it's not processed, it's the process, is the crap food that is the problem. Many people don't realize that crap is the problem. And crap in terms of, we use the word crap and crap and crap. And so for so long, I didn't even know that crap actually was an acronym. And so it's an acronym for carbonated drinks, or foods empty, which are empty calories, refined sugar. The R is for refined sugar, refined food, things that are, not in its natural form. Because when this food was given to us by the creator, it was in its natural form. We had to kind of refine, and then this is the problem. Our body doesn't recognize the food in its refined form. It does recognize it naturally. It knows what to do with it. But when you are not adding all these E numbers, the body's like, hey, what have you eaten? I don't know what it is. It's confused. And then the A is artificial colors or alcohol, and P is for processed food. So crap food, that is the problem. When you begin to eat crap food, it affects you as a person, it affects your decision making, and then it goes back to this conversation we're having in terms of your ability to make right decisions in terms of your finances. And when you're not able to do that, that again has its own implication. So maybe we just need to recap on the implications of that. What is really this link? So that's especially for people joining us now who haven't been here at the very beginning. What are these implications of this link of health and finance? Which way around? Is health affecting finance, or finance affecting health? Well, well-being rather, I must say. And what are these implications of the what's the link? This link between our health and finance. How does that impact us as an individual, our life, our well-being?
Yes, so I think the recap would be to say that there is a link, and there are strong links between financial well-being. I will use it as one word, as one of the components, or one of 6 areas of well-being that a person can have. So there are strong links between financial, and the statistic was 64% of people consider themselves to have health-related financial stresses, or stresses that cause health issues. So there is a link, a strong link between financial well-being and a person's health. It is a person's responsibility as an individual to be on top of their financial well-being, because that's what then links to health issues. There are other areas, because when we talk about financial well-being and how one can be on top of their financial well-being, I think the first thing would be financial literacy. So understanding the key components of budgeting, saving, and investing would be a key thing. Understanding how to plan for not just the short term, but also for the long term as well. And also making conscious efforts to prioritize your financial well-being. It's not an afterthought. It's not something, oh, the money just finished, at the end of the month, and then I'm stressed, or an emergency came up and I didn't have an emergency fund to cover it, or my child needs this and I don't have the ability to say no to them or to plan with them. So being responsible for those, for your financial well-being, and also taking the right steps, educating yourself, and like we said earlier, using free resources that are available online. I think the other link is just that we highlighted was realizing that health issues like cardiovascular issues, like we said, sleeping issues, bad eating could actually be as a result of a lack of financial well-being. And so creating a link between health and diseases, and I like to pronounce it like that, so that dis-ease is when your body is not as at ease, and realizing that there is a link between those, and taking your financial well-being as 1 out of 6 that makes you, in a state of happiness, or makes you in a state of being well as a person, it's very important, and it's worth investing in.
Absolutely. It's quite important, like you said earlier, that we need to look at the holistic approaches, every part. We need a good balance. It's not 4/6,
Yeah.
or 2/6, or just one. And like we've been talking about, a lot of people don't even realize that
Mm.
uh, finance actually affect their well-being, or even their well-being is impacted by finance. So it's both ways, it's not one or the other. So we need to kind of begin at this point in time. From this moment, we're going to be talking about what tips or whatever we can do in a short while. I'm just trying to see whether I can chip in a couple of questions. We've got 10 minutes to go. Goodness me, how time flies so quickly. So if you have a question, please drop it in the comments. I don't know, I can't see any here, but maybe I should just have a quick look before we continue, just in case we are missing something. This is the first time where I'm looking at it from here, just to see on my phone, just in case someone's commented. So I'm just trying to look at it on Facebook directly, but I can't see anything yet. But anyway, so if you would like to drop something, a comment, a message, a question, please drop it there. So I'm just thinking about this. So does having too much money or too little money affect well-being? So could it be about either way, or do we does that not really have an impact on our financial well-being if we have too much money or too little money?
So I think that having enough money for your needs is crucial. It's, I'm sure, not a bad thing to have more money. Usually, most people have issues with having little money or not enough money for their needs. And so I think it can go either way. Definitely having too much money can have its own challenges as well. Issues with managing staff, issues with taxation and bills. Those things can keep one up at night and cause heart issues or blood pressure issues. Not having enough money as well, on the other hand, can cause very similar issues. So I think if we just go to the definition of well-being as being a person being in a state of feeling well in all aspects of their life, or most of the aspects of their life, then I think it would be important. I think most people struggle with not having enough rather than having too much. But that's not to say that people who have a lot of money are healthy or have an overall sense of well-being either.
Oh, great. Oh, we've got a question here. Thank you. From Bebehi. He said, please repeat the CRAP acronym again. Oh, yes. So CRAP is carbonated drinks, um, refined foods, or refined sugar, actually, because again, people don't realize that refined sugar is really bad. Artificial colors, or alcohol, and P is the processed food. So C for carbonated drinks, R for refined sugar. Maybe I should type it in, or somebody could help us. There's few people watching. Just help us type it in the comments. Yeah. So carbonated drink, refined sugar, artificial colors, and processed food. I mean, anything. When you mentioned earlier talking about you reading your food, that was what when I started my journey. That was what I did. I spent a lot longer to while shopping, because I have to look at this. What is this? What I read the labels at the back. Why is this and this?
Mm.
And one thing people don't realize: some of this food will be healthy foods. They kind of deceive people, but the truth is, they say it's healthy foods and it's just 100 calories. They make people think, oh, calorie is the important thing. No, our body doesn't understand calorie. Calorie is an English word. Your body doesn't know calorie. Your body knows, what is this doing for me? Is it sugar? Oh, okay, what do I do
Yeah.
with? Oh, is this fats? Oh, it's protein. So our body knows the macro, it knows nutrients. That's what the body language, the body understand nutrients, proteins, carbohydrates, fats. What should I do with protein? Okay. What should I do with carbohydrates? He knows what to do. What should I do with fat? What should I do? And then when it then begins to see sugar, I'm like, okay, with all this. and then it sees high fructose corn syrup. It's like, what does that mean? And it's seeing whatever E numbers. Like, I don't understand this. You're confusing the body, and this is when it begins to malfunction and then misbehave, and then that's when we begin to see all this. Oh, thank you so much, Obe. Obe's put it all in for us. Carbonated drinks, refined sugar, artificial colors, alcohol, processed foods. Thank you so much. So people can
And
work
actually,
that.
I was going to highlight a point on that and the link really between finance and well-being, or finance and health when it comes to foods, like you mentioned. And this could really help because some people will go into a supermarket and pick up a brand I will not name, and where it says almond milk or soy milk on the carton, that's what it says. But again, you flip it over and it has 15 ingredients inside. But you think you're making a better choice by paying £3 or £2.50 for a carton of this said almond or soy milk. That's not optimizing the nutrition for your body. Then there's another brand, again, who I will not mention the name because they're not paying me, which I then switched to eventually, not so well known as you would expect, where it says almond milk, and I turn the back of the label. It contains almonds, water, and salt. And I make almond milk at home, so I know that is exactly what you don't need more than 3 or 4 ingredients in a simple thing like a nut milk, for example. And it's just really taking that extra second or minute to really be intentional when it comes to your health and your life choices with food, with finances. We just have that train oneself, and it all starts in the mind. Once we start to train ourselves to ask the next question, and we said financial well-being is a state of not just having enough for the moment, but for the future. So once we start to imbibe that mindset of what am I doing, what am I putting in my mouth now, what impact is it going to have in the future? What impact is it going to have on the children who are watching me doing this, or on my family members, or whatever? I think that sense of responsibility can only do us good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's so amazing. I realize we've only got 3 minutes to go. I can't believe it. Time flies so well. We've not even asked all the questions, but I think this is the point where we just want to say, what's the takeaway for people? Because we want to give them, something to take away with. They've been listening to us for the last 57 minutes, and they'll be like, okay, what can I start doing from today? Where do I start? Okay, I know now that there's a link between finance and my well-being. I want to be great financially. I want to be great with my well-being all around holistically. What can I start doing today? So what are we going to, what would you like to tell people? What can they start doing from this moment?
Okay, so I will give just not a lot, a few tips. So I think for the first thing would be from finance is just to map out what I will call the 3 fundamental building blocks of your finances. The first thing is budgeting. So start a budget. Even if it's writing it on the back of a piece of paper, how much you have or you want to spend in a week, what are you going to spend it on, and try as much as possible not to exceed that. So start with a budget for yourself, maybe first, and then the rest of the family. The second thing would be start some kind of savings. And I would caution against savings because interest rates are not great at the moment. Inflation is going crazy. So do not put all your money in savings, but have some kind of savings because emergencies happen and sometimes you need to access money really quickly. So have a budget. Have savings. So Dave Ramsey, for example, who is a financial guru, would recommend having an emergency fund of about 3 to 6 months of your household expenses. Have that in cash, easily accessible. The third thing I would say is really start to think about investing. And I know that sounds very daunting to people, but if you think about it now, your money in the bank is doing nothing for you. And if we think about well-being as something for not just the moment, but for the future, one thing that investments, especially investing in the stock exchange, can do, or in land and property, is that it can help to mitigate the impact of inflation against the value of your money in the future. So I think definitely those 3 things, but I think the easiest one is to start with a budget. Before you spend anything on a weekly, even on a daily basis, assign yourself an amount for the day and list what you are going to spend. So those would be, I would say, the kind of financy points. On the well-being point, my key points would be starting from today or maybe tomorrow, try to at least drink more water than anything else that you drink. So I'm not going to say 1 liter, 2 liter, or anything like that. If you drink 3 cups of coffee, drink at least 4 cups of water. If you drink 3 cans of Coke, drink at least 4 bottles of water. So drink more water than anything else that you drink would be my first sort of health tip. The second thing, and these things don't cost money. All the things I've said don't cost, because I know a lot of people say, well, you're asking me to manage finances and you're giving me things to spend money on. So we do that for the finances I've mentioned. So we drink more water than anything else we're drinking. Let's also try and go to bed 30 minutes earlier than when we would normally go to bed. And the key thing is not going to bed, but flicking on the phone or watching TV. So let's go to bed 30 minutes earlier and switch off the light before 30 minutes earlier than we would. And then the last thing on health is let's also try to read the ingredients before we eat or put anything into our bodies. You might not know how to understand the list of ingredients, but it would start to give you an awareness of what things are that you're actually eating.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. I mean, that is amazing tips. Honestly, this is priceless because these are simple things that you can start doing right from this moment. It costs you absolutely nothing. It just costs you the intention. You have to be intentional. You need to make that decision yourself that from today, these are the starting points. These are what I want to start to do. And then you can begin to add bits and pieces onto it. Some people will be like, I don't even have enough. I can't even invest or save. My addition to that will be look into the aspects of your life currently where there might be some loopholes, there might be some drainage that is sipping some of your finances. Before you purchase something, you need to ask yourself questions. Do I need it? Is it important? Can I live without it? What will happen if I don't get this thing right now? Am I going to die if I don't get it? Is it important to me? Because sometimes, I mean, my youngest son, my son, elder one will say to him, you spend too much money to impress people who don't care about you. Because at the end of the day, you're spending that money on buying shoes and clothes. For who? For what? You need to invest on your future when you know that at that time, you just relax. You can retire early. So you need to start looking at the things that are kind of eating up into your finances, whether it is I mean, for us Nigerians, we know where we like to go to parties every weekend, or we need to take Asoebi. For those who don't understand Yoruba language, Asoebi is in Nigeria, and I think some parts of African country where there is an occasion, people will buy material with the family of the person who is celebrating, and everybody will wear the same thing. And you have parties like every weekend and you keep buying all the time. That is that money. If you imagine you saving, I mean, we're not going to do that today. There's a lot to do about that. The life saving benefits of compound interest. Put that in an account. That money that you're spending for like 20 years, honestly, that one is, you would not believe how much you would make. You see some people, you think, how did they get this money? Trust me, they've been saving for long. So it's all those little things, or maybe you're buying coffee on your way to work every morning. You don't need that Costa coffee. It's not going to do you a good. Oh my goodness, I've mentioned a brand. Well, whatever brand it is, it doesn't have to be Costa. Whatever brand it is, it doesn't really matter. Do your own drink at home. Enjoy yourself. All those things that you're buying outside, they're more or less a treat. If it's not a real food, then it's a treat. You shouldn't be spending your money on it every time. So try to, avoid unnecessarily spending money. And I like the tip about sleeping early and that, because when we are sleeping, that is when a lot of the body repairs takes place. Because some people just think, I just close my eyes and sleep. It goes beyond that. And I know we're not talking about that today. It goes beyond just closing your eyes. Because some people, when your quality of sleep is bad, which is why she mentioned earlier, take off the lights, because all this blue light has impact on our health. And we really need to be aware of those. So we need to switch off completely so that our body, when all the body repairs is happening, that's when the body garage is doing its repairs, the MOTs and everything of the body. So if we don't give it enough time to do the MOT, and then it just done the tire, it hasn't done the engine oil, and then you woke up, and then it's like, oh, that engine oil is low, but then you're still forcing it, and then you sleep again, you don't sleep enough, it did not have the time to put the oil filter or whatever, and then before you know it, that body is completely broken. And this is what we've been talking about today. So yeah, we're already 4 minutes gone past. I will just want to say, I don't know whether you want to add anything before we go, but I would just Angie, do you want to? Yes.
No, thank you. That's all from me. I'm looking forward to the other topics in the series, and hopefully that your audience start to hopefully experience a better state of health and financial well-being this year.
Fantastic. I'm just going to say health is wealth. How rich are you? Thank you so much for joining us. Looking forward to seeing you at the next episode. And yeah, and we're looking forward to hearing your testimonies from your what you've been practicing from tonight's session. Let us know, and we'll be happy to share those. So thank you so much for those joining. And if you're joining later, type hashtag replay and whatever. And yeah, we're good to go. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.